8:06, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sam pointed out that the Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison was on CNN. Sam, you said he was sweating bullets?
Yeah, so he was on yesterday, too, talking about, if there's fraud going on, then send the accountants in. But he was just on just now, and the host he was interacting with was reading off the latest Donald Trump Truth Social post about how there will be revenge and retribution in Minnesota, and you could just see the beads forming on his forehead. Yeah, he started to look a little nervous.
Is it the Donald Trump Truth Social that says, do the people of Minnesota?
Yeah.
Is that it? All right. I'm going to try to read this. I'm going to read it cold. This is Donald Trump on Truth Social. Do the people of Minnesota really want to live in a community in which there are thousands of already convicted murderers, drug dealers and addicts, rapists, violent, released and escaped prisoners, dangerous people from foreign mental institutions and insane asylums, and other deadly criminals too dangerous to even mention? He says all the patriots of ICE want to do is remove them from your neighborhood and send them back to the prisons and mental institutions from where they came, most in foreign countries, who illegally entered the USA through sleepy Joe Biden's horrible open borders policy. Every place we go, crime comes down. In Chicago, despite a weak and incompetent governor and mayor fighting us all the way, a big improvement was made. Thousands of criminals were removed. Minnesota Democrats love the unrest that anarchists and professional agitators are causing because it gets the spotlight off of the $19 billion that was stolen by really bad and deranged people. Fear not, great people of Minnesota, the day of reckoning and retribution is coming. So that is Donald Trump and the Truth Social, and there's a lot on, just to let you know, there's a lot on the whole fraud thing with Minnesota. This headline, New York Post, Biden administration likely paid out, you ready for this? $84.6 million in air for Minnesota housing assistance, including to hundreds who were already dead.
No.
If those kids could read, they'd be very upset.
You know, I actually, when I read this, Joan, I said, nuh-uh. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning in my basement, and I literally did that out loud.
Yeah.
Out loud.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a shocker.
Yeah.
So last week we told you about the $700 million in cash that had been taken through Minnesota's airport over the last couple of years. So that's also part of the conversation regarding the fraud in Minnesota. Now, as far as the $700 million in cash, that was all done legally, but it didn't apparently raise any red flags from the people in Minnesota, which is crazy. So now the administration is taking steps to make sure that it does not continue happening. Scott Bessent is all over the place. Need some video and some audio here, Sam. Scott Bessent was all over the place talking about the steps the Trump administration wants to take to safeguard against fraud in Minnesota and everywhere. This is Scott Bessent.
This is an outrage. President Trump is outraged. I'm outraged. The whole administration is outraged. And we are here to follow the money because that's what Treasury does. We have done that for years. We did it with the mafia. We have done it with the cartels. And now we are going to do it with these Somali fraudsters. And Treasury.
Do you know what I've noticed? There's some politicians, and I don't know if that's what happened with Scott Bessent, but there's some politicians that they're afraid to even acknowledge that these are a bunch of Somalians, because then the left is going to say, oh, that's racist. You're talking about the innocent Somalians. It's like, no. If you look at the community where a lot of this fraud was, it was a lot of these folks that came here from Somalia, legal or not. Here's more from Scott Bessent.
Treasury has something called FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and we are coming in, tomorrow we are announcing that 4 investigations into money service businesses that we believe may have wired money out of the country, a lot of the ill-gotten, stolen money over to the Middle East, over to Somalia. We'll see where that's going. So we're announcing investigations into 4 of those money service businesses. We are going to put in what we call a geographical targeting order. So there's something called a suspicious activity report if a certain amount of money gets wired
$10,000, right?
So we're lowering that to $3,000.
Oh, good.
And we're also targeting the 2 counties here, and we're going to do enhanced surveillance. And from now on, anyone who wires money out from one of these money service businesses has to check a box saying whether they are on public assistance. And if you are on public assistance, we are going to start pushing that you cannot wire money out of the country.
I love that. So what he's saying, obviously, is that, listen, if you're on some sort of government assistance, you're not going to send that money back to Somalia. I love that. Now, the question is, and there's a lot here. He says the Somalis are going to have to check a box. You know, they've been known to lie, right? So they better be able to figure out a way to confirm that they're not on government assistance other than just simply checking a box. But I like what he's saying. So condense all this down. They're going to start investigating these money service businesses that the Somalis have been using to send money back to Somalia. They're going to start looking at these counties, because he was in Minnesota when that interview was done. They're going to start looking at these counties where the funds are being sent to Somalia. In other words, Minneapolis, St. Paul. And these suspicious activity reports. One of the things that they were talking about with all of these, the $700 million being shipped to Somalia through the airports, again, perfectly legal, but certainly suspicious. So now they're talking about increasing the amount of suspicious activity reports that these banks will issue if stuff just looks a little off, like, oh, I don't know, sending $700 million cumulatively to Somalia over a couple of year period. But again, that last one was huge. He said that the Somalis will be forced to check a box, and if they're on some sort of government assistance, you're not going to send American taxpayer dollars to Somalia. You're just not going to do it. Now, I'm sure that there's going to be all kinds of different loopholes with all of this that they'll figure out because, again, some of these folks are sneaky that way.
Well, it's just really funny because yesterday Ellison was on CNN again, of course, and he was talking about, well, you know, we don't need ICE when it comes to fraud.
They're being portrayed as the defendants in those actions.
That's right. But let me just say, if you want to stop fraud, let's just say that's their claim and that's their premise, then what we need is accountants.
And you're going to get them.
Oh, yeah. They will absolutely get accountants. I love that. By the way, the guy who really, you folks know, the guy that led the investigation, you know, everybody will say that it was Nick Shirley that led the investigation into some of these fraudulent daycare centers and so forth. Really, the guy who led that investigation was not Nick Shirley. I mean, he was the one that brought it to everybody's attention, but it was actually this guy named David Hoke. I talked about him quite a bit when Nick Shirley was making doing the tour around Minnesota, Minneapolis, looking at these empty daycare centers. Well, David Hoke had some testimony, actually, which was really interesting. I've got that audio coming up. So David Hoke, the guy who went around with Nick Shirley, he's the guy that has been investigating these empty daycares. And he says that another video is on its way. But this was during some sort of a discussion or conference. Scott Besson was there. But he talked about what has been going on in Minnesota.
We have a second video that's coming out Monday that is 10 times worse than the original video. It's going to be pretty shocking and it's pretty graphic.
I can't find that video, by the way. Like, this was over the weekend. I cannot find a new Nick Shirley video. But beyond all that.
So what I have here is a 5-year recap of all of these CCAP money, that's child care assistance payments, for the last 5 years, the top 102 recipients of that, 84 of them are Somali owned. You know how many children I've seen at those child care centers over the last 7 years? 0, not one.
And so part of the frustration with all of this is that you have a judge that is now, we talked to Hans von Spakovsky about this the other day. A judge has now blocked the president from freezing $10 billion in child care programs to these Democrat-run states. This is from the Associated Press. Top prosecutors from California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York filed a lawsuit against HHS to return approximately $10 billion for these 3 programs for child care and low-income families. So it is amazing how the fraud is clearly there. And the administration says, look, we're not going to stop this until we can figure out what the heck is going on. And yet another activist judge, a Biden appointee, has blocked the Trump administration from trying to safeguard our taxpayer dollars. Now, this is only temporary. The decision is basically, hey, you can't just cut off funding while the litigation happens. The funding must continue until this is resolved. So the second video, I'm looking forward. Sam, did you see any second video? I know that
he's been previewing it still. It hasn't come out yet.
He's been previewing it, but it hasn't come out yet. Okay. So maybe they're just putting the final touches on it, whatever. But David Hoke said that it was actually going to come out yesterday because today's now Tuesday. But he's also talking about, and we touched on this earlier, in Minnesota, there's these non-emergency medical transportation vehicles that they are really focused on as well. Maybe this is part of that new video that's coming out by Nick Shirley and David Hoke.
Then what I believe is the core of all this, is this non-emergency medical transportation. A search showed that Minnesota recognizes 1,020 NEMT companies. Almost 900 of them are Somali-owned. So in the second video, Nick Shirley and I went to 16 of them. I've actually been to about 70 of them.
Wow.
They don't exist. They're in an apartment building. One of them's a liquor store. Another one's a wire transfer. Another one is something totally unrelated. It's a grocery store. There are no vehicles.
Yeah, no vehicles and nobody's there. And he continues to talk about all of this because it does obviously look shady. He also talked about how Scott Besson is going after the banks and the suspicious activity reports. But the other thing that he says is that they need to drop into Minnesota like, a bunch of commandos, right? Dropping into Minnesota and just start raiding all of these companies. And by the way, the Department of Children's Services in Minnesota as well, because they're the ones that are doling out all of this money. And so with these non-emergency medical transportation companies, it's just like the daycare units with no kids, where you've got all of these companies. They don't have any vans. They don't have any patients. There's no offices, and there's certainly no transporting going on. They're companies only on paper. Yet they're getting all of this money, and it's been going on for a long time, and it is so incredibly infuriating to watch all of this. Now, there was a moment of clarity on The View that I'm going to talk about, I think at 8:35, where Whoopi Goldberg tried to put forth a certain narrative that was a bunch of BS. And Sarah Hines actually set Whoopi Goldberg straight. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Also, there is some reporting. We're talking about the Attorney General for the state of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, and about how he is on tape talking about the fraud. And there's some new reporting on that we're going to share with you. Hey, Joan.
What is it, Dan?
My appreciation for Sam's bumper music is tepid.
And, well, it should be.
You know what's so funny? Sam gets really, excited and proud about his bumper music.
Until we all go.
Until we all start crapping on it.
Yeah.
Okay, when it's something like Skinnerd, I know the super texters are going to back me up.
Oh, is this Skinnerd?
Yes.
Joan.
Oh,
what is
was
wrong
I
with
thinking?
you? Do you know one of the most
Hey, Joan.
What?
EGL.
All
Yes.
right.
Do you know one of the most controversial things that I said in my beginning years here at WTN, was I'd never heard Freebird? Thank the Lord that the super text line wasn't up and running then, because I'd said I'd never heard Freebird. And
You never heard the song Freebird?
I never heard it before. I grew up in Los Angeles. But now, in fairness to me, right, I grew up in L.A. where, Freebird isn't on the radio as much as it is here. And in fairness to me, when I was in L.A., my favorite radio station, actually, you would appreciate this, Sam. When I was in L.A., my favorite radio station was KNAC, which was a heavy metal station, which didn't play Freebird by Lynyrd Skynyrd. And so when I listened to the rock stations, I don't know, they never played the song. And then I got into spoken word and all news. And so obviously they're not playing Freebird. And so then I got here, and I think I was working with Pamela Furr, and she mentioned something about Freebird, and with just stupid conversation evolved into me admitting I'd never heard Freebird. And so I got a very quick schooling in Freebird. And now I like the song.
I was about to say, hopefully not a quick schooling. It's like a 7-minute song.
It's longer than that, man. That's a long song. But I like it. I like, Skynyrd and so forth. Anyway, real quick. It's moving right along. So this is, we're talking about Keith Ellison, just real quick. And this is a report talking about that now infamous tape where he is essentially saying that, he is all fine, well, and good to cover up all of that corruption.
State's top cop here in Minnesota was caught in an audio recording behind closed doors, meeting with a group of soon-to-be convicted Somali fraudsters. They were asking the Attorney General for help to get more funding. Listen to this.
The only way we can protect what we have is by inserting ourselves into the political arena, putting our votes where it needs to be, but most importantly, putting our dollars in the right place and supporting candidates that will fight to protect our interests.
That's right.
You can only protect our interests when we have your back, and you don't have to worry about who's behind you.
And also this group was talking about, as you heard there, supporting his campaign. So Keith Ellison is pushing back on this. He said that he takes fraud seriously. He shared in an op-ed writing this: I took a meeting in good faith with people I didn't know, and some turned out to have done some bad things. I did nothing for them, and I took nothing from them. But some of those now convicted Somali fraudsters did donate money to Ellison's campaign, according to documents obtained by the Center for the American Experiment.
No, I'm sure nothing to see here. I'm sure it's a coincidence. By the way, CNN right now, Democrats who say they're liberal. 1976, 30% of Democrats said they're liberal. In 2001, 29% of Democrats said they're liberal. Now, 59%. Now, can we just all agree that the term liberal means crazy?
It seems derogatory. To call somebody a liberal now seems derogatory.
Well, because of their behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, look at everything we've all been talking about with the, with the liberals and the progressives and the crazy people getting in front of ICE vehicles and so forth. I mean, that was my moment of reflection earlier in the broadcast, where I wanted to know if I should feel guilty because it is now my guilty pleasure to watch liberals tear gassed or pepper sprayed. I like watching it. I have. So, sometimes, and I'm not known to do this, but not in a very long time. But, sometimes, guys will share photographs of pretty women. Well, I will send my conservative friends, hey, this is a great video of a progressive getting tear gassed or pepper sprayed. I think it's great. There was one, I think you were talking about it, Sam, where this was I think it was last weekend, where a guy was going for the gun of an ICE agent and just got hit right in the face. Right square in the face.
Point blank.
Point blank.
I'll try
and
to
I find it funny. And I feel bad for finding it funny, but I don't know why I feel bad for finding it funny, but I do.
It's the FAFO factor.
Yeah, and you shouldn't feel bad because they've changed what liberal means. Basically, liberal today means you're a Marxist communist. Whether you acknowledge it or not, that's what it means. Just like in the 1920s, gay meant happy. Now it means that you prefer people of your same ilk. So the words change, so therefore the connotations change. So yeah, it is an insult. Because they can't even acknowledge that they're no longer liberal and that they are, in fact, Marxist communists.
Do you know what I was thinking, though? I was thinking as to whether or not this will have an impact on the midterm elections, right? Because that's what everybody in politics talks about. So the Democrats are acting so incredibly abhorrent that I think that there's going to be maybe center-left or independents that are looking at the Democrats and their behavior, and they're not going to be on board with, trying to stop ICE from doing their jobs or, yelling at ICE or doing all of the abhorrent things that they're doing all across the country, burning American flags and all that other stuff. I think that this could cost the Democrats some support because they are far more radical than the Republicans are. I mean, Republicans, what are we out doing, Joan? What are we out doing, Sam? We're out working.
Yeah.
In Minnesota and all across the country, you've got all of these Democrats, and there's that very humorous moment with Laura Ingraham where she, said to some woman, I forget exactly what happened, but, the woman is out there protesting and she says, yeah, I'm getting paid for this. So you got these Democrats and some of these people like George Soros that are paying for these people to come out and do this insanity. But a lot of other people, a lot of these liberals are just doing it for free instead of going out and working and getting paid for, protesting or doing all of this insanity. They're just all day long going out and taking their kids to some of these protests as well. It is absolute insanity. So I think this is going to look bad for the Democrats. I do. By the way, Scott Bessent talking about Keith Ellison. Scott Bessent is who Joan says is on the spectrum. He says that, Keith Ellison, he is going to be investigated.
Part of following the money, there are evidently some disturbing tapes of A.G. Ellison in meetings with people who donated to him, them calling for political favors to stop the investigations. So we'll see. But again, I don't want to get out ahead of the investigations. It's going to be very methodical. And Chris, I can guarantee you, when the bear trap snaps, we're going to get these folks. And again, we're going to follow the money, whether it's over the two counties here, in Minneapolis, St. Paul's, or whether it's to East Africa. And there's tons of luxury properties, cars that have been bought over there. Mm-hmm. And part of following the money, there are evidently some disturbing tapes of.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he says. By the way, I'm furiously looking for the tape, the link that I have of Sarah Hines on The View and how she schooled Whoopi Goldberg. So I'm going to play that. I'm going to play that real quick. A super texter. You know what I love, Joan? I love when the super texters remind me of something that I've teased.
Yeah.
Like, Dan, you said you were going to play the audio from The View.
Yes, I love it.
Someone was clamoring for The View there. Huh.
No, but I teased it that I was going to do it. And certainly this person who is telling me, you teased the segment on The View where Sarah Hines schools Whoopi Goldberg. And knowing, of course, that I have attention issues, person just knowing how I forget things, reminding me that I said that I would play this. So this is Sarah Hines. Is she a conservative, Joan?
Sarah Hines?
Yeah, on The View. I think she's one of the...
I think she's supposed to be, yeah.
One of the less nuts ladies on The View.
Right.
All right. So she's talking about, the woman who got shot by ICE, fool around and find out. And she puts Whoopi Goldberg in her place because Whoopi comes on at the tail end of this and tries to push forward that really silly narrative about she was just dropping off her 6-year-old.
It is a reminder as this is happening in our country that we have to have peaceful protest, because I think any time you have someone that is obstructing or cutting people off, she does not deserve to be dead, but that is also creating this situation of a tinderbox. And this is why we're seeing more shootings right now, is these legal watchers step back, record everything, get it all down. But the fact that she was cutting off the road also contributed to the heat of this situation. We've got to remain peaceful. You can leave no room for error on this.
I just want to say, I don't know why she was, from my understanding, she had just dropped her kid off.
Does she not read the news?
She reads the news she wants to read.
Whoopi Goldberg is so stupid.
Yeah.
It drives me crazy. Because that she was just dropping off her kid.
Yeah.
That has been debunked how many days ago? How many days ago? Remind me, Sam, how much Whoopi Goldberg makes? Crack open a website, Whoopi, for the love of all that is holy. She bugs the living crap out of me. Everybody knows she wasn't just dropping off her kid. She was there all day. She's harassing ICE, and she's cutting off people. She's cutting off the roadway that ICE is trying to use.
It's estimated she makes $8 million a year.
Yeah.
$8 million.
But she can't
I could
find a way to...
There are hockey players that don't make that much.
I can be dumb and ill-informed for a lot less.
Yeah.
Whoopi Goldberg. So here, I'm so... Joan, I made Sam jump when I got all excited. Did you notice that? Got triggered by Whoopi Goldberg. But I mean, honest to goodness. It's like, lady... Pay a flippin' attention. If you're going to talk about this stuff, pay attention. It bothers me how the ladies on The View, and they're pandering to their audience, and I get it, but how ill-informed they are. They're just know the basics of the stories that you're talking about.
I just want to say, I don't know why she was, from my understanding, she had just dropped her kid off.
Do you know why you don't know why, Whoopi? Because you don't take the time to do any show prep.
It wasn't in the talking card they handed you before the show.
Oh, I bet you that's got to be what it is. That's got to be what it is. What am I going to talk about today? I'm just going to talk out my arse. That's what Whoopi Goldberg does for $8 million a year.
Well, the videos have now revealed that her partner and her were coming to watch these or slow up the ICE. They want to notify the public the ICE officers are coming. So she meant to park that way.
And Whoopi looks like a deer in the headlights. Yeah. You know what I mean? Whatever. Why do I let Whoopi get me all upset? She's not worth it.
You
She's
should not
worth
let her
my
get you
voice
upset.
going up 4 octaves. Yes. I apologize, people. By the way, if you want to hear one of the ultimate Dan Mandis fails, listen to the 5 o'clock hour. Joan, Sam, you know what I'm talking about. Every Peanuts book known to man. That's what I'm talking about.
Call me Billy the Kid with how quick I am with it.
So if you want to know what that was all about, go listen to the 5 o'clock hour. Is actually hysterical.